Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, Butterfly Spirit 314. So guys, today what I want to talk about is the Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA for short. So if you're like I was at my job, I had a loved one who needed to be taken care of around the clock. And the best way I found to do that is that um, I couldn't necessarily take care of my loved one around the clock. So what I decided to do was continue to work my job full time and also take advantage of FMLA so that if I had to leave to take care of my loved one, then I could do that. To start with, there may be a lot of you guys out there who have no idea what FMLA is, and you are probably clueless about, that you can take advantage of it. There is requirements to take advantage of FMLA. You have to work on your job for a certain amount of time, and the time that you take off for FMLA is going to be limited. Okay. What I thought while I was applying for it and afterwards, I thought that FMLA would last an entire year. It didn't matter how many hours that I had to take care of my dad. I just figured that, okay, it's just a year. But I wasn't made aware of the fact that it's a set amount of hours. Okay. So I'm going to talk about um, a short bit about the requirements for FMLA, and then I'm going to kind of just give you some tips. Okay. To start with, my dad became sick last year in November. This was after his birthday, and he went into the hospital. And when I found out my dad was in the hospital, I became worried about him. I did go to the hospital. I was fighting against absences in my job, like for my attendance and stuff like that. And I was really worried about going to see him. But I figured, well, hey, if something happens to my dad, I don't want to think that I just stayed at work to benefit my job and was not there to support my dad if something did happen to him. Luckily, nothing serious seemed to happen to him when I went to the hospital, but I found out afterwards, not the day afterwards, but some months afterwards, I found out how serious my dad's condition was. And I found out that my dad really did need to have somebody taking care of him. There are people who don't know that my mother passed away in January 2019. A lot of people don't know that about me. And, people may say, well, why can't, your mom help take care of your dad? Because she passed away, so she can't be there to help my dad. My siblings, both of them, like me, you know, work full time, but, you know, my sister, she's out of town, and then my brother, he drives over the road. So he can be in town sometimes, but he's not in town all the time. So that just leaves me being in town to help my dad. So it was kind of decided that I would be the one to help my dad out. And I'm glad that I took advantage of FMLA to help my dad because one thing that FMLA does is it protects your absences. So if you're somebody who you have some occurrences on your job, these are going to be like negative points against you because you took off. Then if you apply for FMLA and get approved for the Family and Medical Leave Act, then those times when you have to take off or you can't come in because you're caring for your loved one, you can just tell your job, hey, I'm using this day for FMLA, and then they won't count that as a negative against you for your attendance. Okay. Different companies are going to work completely different on FMLA. I realized that I needed to apply, after I spoke with my manager about it. So the process was pretty long. Um, To begin with, because of COVID, um, I had a really hard time getting in touch with my dad's doctors and things like that. But to start with, what you have to do is basically what I had to do to start with is I had to reach out to my human resources department at my job. And first, I reached somebody who basically screens you, to make sure that FMLA will be right for you. So I got to a guy. He kind of asked me the situation and why I felt that I needed to apply for FMLA. And I basically told him the whole story about my dad being in the hospital and me finding out that my dad was sick. And he was really sick from his doctor, and that um, basically I was the only one who can help take care of my dad and things like that. And I told the guy some other things, but he was like, okay, so it sounds like, FMLA would be right for you. You know, FMLA is also something that can be used, like if you're somebody, like if you're a woman and you're pregnant, or let's say you or somebody, maybe a gentleman, and you're taking care of your child or something like that, it's being like an adopted child or newborn or something like that, you can possibly take advantage of FMLA as well. My advice would be to look up FMLA and then Google it, and then you'll find out some information about it. Briefly, what I'm going to go ahead and do is kind of talk about some of the requirements for FMLA. Okay, so give me just a second. I'm gonna try to take a look here. I'm just trying to look for the requirements real quick, and you guys can certainly look this up as well if you need to. Okay, so this is really brief. It's not going to talk about the hours that you'll be getting. If I can find that, I'll definitely try to look like tell you guys about that. So I'm just reading from the U.S. Department of Labor, their Family and Medical Leave Act article. So it says the FMLA entitles eligible employees of covered employers to take unpaid job protected leave for specified family and medical reasons, with continuation of group health insurance coverage under the same terms and conditions as if the employee had not taken leave. Eligible employees are entitled to 12 work weeks of leave in a 12-month period for the birth of a child and to care for the newborn child within 1 year of birth, the placement with the employee of a child for adoption or foster care, and to care for the newly placed child within 1 year placement. Also, to care for the employee's spouse, child, or parent who has a serious health condition, a serious health condition that makes the employee unable to perform the essential functions of his or her job. And let's see, lastly, here it says any qualifying exigency arising out of the fact that the employee's spouse, son, daughter, or parent is covered is a covered military member on covered active duty, or 26 work weeks of leave during a single 12-month period to care for a covered service member with a serious injury or illness if the eligible employee is the service member's spouse, son, daughter, parent, or next of kin, military caregiver leave. Alrighty, so that's a little bit about FMLA and who individuals who fit the requirements that, like I was talking about, they can take advantage of it. Let me see how many FMLA out here. All right, so I'm looking at another U.S. Department of Labor article here. Um, I'm going to read another paragraph here about FMLA, and then I'll just kind of give you two guys some tips. So it says Family and Medical Leave Act FMLA. The Family and Medical Leave Act FMLA provides certain employees with up to 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave per year. It also requires that their group health benefits be maintained during the leave. FMLA is designed to help employees balance their work and family responsibilities by allowing them to take reasonable unpaid leave for certain family or medical reasons. It also seeks to accommodate the legitimate interests of the employers and promote equal employment opportunity for men and women. FMLA applies to all public agencies, all public and private elementary and secondary schools, and companies with 50 or more employees. These employers must provide an eligible employee with up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave each year for any of the following reasons: for the birth and care of a newborn child of an employee, for placement with the employee of a child for adoption or foster care, to care for an immediate family member, this be spouse, child, parent with a serious health condition, or to take medical leave when the employee is unable to work because of a serious health condition. Employees are eligible for a leave if they have worked for their employer for at least 12 months, at least 1,250 hours over the past 12 months, and work at a location where the company employs 50 or more employees within 75 miles. Whether an employee has worked the minimum of 1,250 hours of service is determined according to FLSA principles for determining compensatable hours for work. Time taken off due to pregnancy complications can be counted against the 12 weeks of family and medical leave. Serious rules apply to employees of local educational agencies. The U.S. Department of Labor administers FMLA. However, the Office of Personnel Management administers FMLA for federal employees. All right, so I went ahead and read that article. Some stuff may sound the same, but at least it's going to talk about, how big your employer can be, different types of agencies that you can work for, and they can provide FMLA to you. And as you guys heard, you do have to work a minimum of 1,250 hours for your job. Your job also has to have 50 or more employers within 75 miles. So there's requirements. FMLA also talks about like serious health conditions. So I'll go ahead and look into that because I know some people are going to ask that. Okay, serious health condition for FMLA. All right, so I'm not going to read through all of that stuff because it's so crazy. Let's see. I kind of wanted um, a brief area that talks about serious health condition. Um, okay, so I can't find it here. I don't want to spend a long time on it. If you guys want to look up the term serious health conditions under FMLA or serious health conditions according to FMLA, I mean, just get creative with it. I would just say, what are some serious health conditions as far as FMLA is concerned, or serious health conditions FMLA, and then you should be able to bring up an article about the from the Department of Labor in the United States. If you're in another country, I would suggest that you reach out to your government in your area, and they can probably help you um, with if you like have to take a leave or something. So if you're a citizen, you go to the Department of Labor. You can definitely, I think you can search on the Department of Labor website for the United States, and then you can type in FMLA, and I'm sure it'll bring up like tons of articles. Um, if you're applying for FMLA because you have to take care of a relative, a lot of us out here have to do that. And a lot of people don't know FMLA is something that is available. for you to take advantage of. A lot of you don't know that, but you can. You just have to make sure that, you speak with your job, human resources, and see, what they can do for you if you have to take care of a loved one. Because, it's tough when you have to do that, like taking care of your loved one. That's really tough. If you're applying for FMLA, expect that you're going to have to complete an application. And as a part of that application, expect that you're going to have to put down your loved one's first and last name on the application. Another thing about the application is you are going to have um, one of your loved ones, um, physicians or doctors, to complete a portion of that application. So I want you to be prepared for that. It's not something where you can just fill out all the information and stuff. You will have to have a medical provider, physician, or doctor to complete that information. Okay. My advice is if you have to apply for FMLA, start early with trying to locate your loved one's doctors. Let them know. It's a good idea to already be in contact with those people, but if you're not, like I wasn't, you can, start the process by introducing yourself to your loved one's doctor and, just letting them know, what you need as far as FMLA is concerned. 9 times out of 10, they're pretty familiar with FMLA, so they know, what you need to do. Okay, so they can definitely help you out. Expect that the physician who's going to complete the portion of your loved one, expect that the doctor that's going to complete um, the section for the medical provider on the FMLA application, expect the doctor to take time to get that back to you. So it can be a week. It could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It really depends on their schedule. With COVID, doctors are really busy. So I say don't assume that you're going to get the medical provider part of the application back very soon. What I did with my dad's application is I talked to a few doctors about it, and lucky enough, one of them was able to complete it, while the other one was not able to do that. So another thing, expect doctors to be particular. Expect them to put down information that they feel is justified on the application, and if you ask them to change it, you can expect that maybe they'll change it, or maybe they just may not change the information because they know they're gonna feel like, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm writing down this information. So I would just say expect that the medical provider or doctor may just put down information they want to put down, but that information may or may not be the information that's needed on the application. Okay. I went through something with one of my dad's doctors where the doctor was very particular, and I was asking him to change something. He didn't want to change it, so I was just like, I'll just go ahead and just let me leave it that way. Okay. So, yeah. Another thing is if you're having a doctor to complete the small portion of the application, expect that doctor to charge you a fee. So the doctor may charge you a fee like $25, maybe going up to $50, because this doctor is having to take time out of their schedule to complete the portion of the application. And you may say, well, oh, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. What does that make? Why does that make a difference? It makes a difference because the doctor is taking time out of their day to complete that application. And, you know, doctors can have fees for completing documents. So just expect that. If you don't have the money, I tell you to work with the doctor and ask them, if they can do it for free. If you don't have the money, if they're not, you'll have to get the money from somewhere. So maybe you can borrow it from a loved one, a friend, that you have. Another tip about FMLA is do research on FMLA while you're waiting to hear back about being approved. The reason why I say that is because I didn't know all the ins and outs of FMLA. I wasn't aware of that. Okay. And so, because I wasn't aware of that, then when I ran into some issues with my employer, like when they said my FMLA was expired, then you know I really didn't have a lot of um, footing to stand on, and I'm still scrambling over that to try to work with my employer on this, but it's probably going to be pretty pointless, you know. But my advice definitely would be, research the FMLA while you're applying for it. Even after you've been approved, you can, you know, you can look up things about it because the person who's helping you get approved for FMLA at your job may not tell you all the information you need to know. So you need to know that for yourself so that you can ask questions, whether it's when you're applying for it, whether you're waiting to hear back about approval or you've been approved, you can ask these questions to that person so that there's not a shadow of a doubt that, that you have, you know, that you know about it. I'm not going to say you're going to know all the legislation on it and everything from state, federal, and U.S. I'm not going to say that. You're not going to, but at least knowing some things and asking questions is good. Because here I am trying to work with my employer on the FMLA, and they're, not listening. So don't end up like me. They said I was terminated, but now they're saying I'm not. So yeah. Let me think if there's any other tips I can think of about FMLA. Oh yeah, if you're going to take FMLA, I would suggest maybe taking a couple of days during the 2 week period, maybe 2 or 3 days during the three, like 2 or 3 days during the FMLA, like 2 or 3 days during the 2 week period that you get, like the 2 weeks that you work, because a lot of people work and they get paid every 2 weeks. So take some days to care for your loved one, but also make sure you're working. And don't assume that you can take, you know, like 2 months of FMLA, caring for your loved one continuously, if you're approved for it. Don't assume that because that can run out your FMLA. It's limited. There's a certain amount of hours you get. I believe it's like 480 hours that you get over the 12-week period. It's kind of strange that you get 480 hours over a 12-week period, but then the FMLA lasts for a year. That's the crazy, confusing part. But um, with FMLA, I was told that I'm not supposed to tell my manager anything about my dad's condition or anything. Um, I did tell my manager some general things, not really intrusive things, you know, because you know I want to let her know, hey, I'm caring for my dad and he's going through this and that and stuff. One thing I would say is be very forward with communicating with your manager. Letting your manager know, um, letting them know what's going on. You know, um, if you're going through your manager bullying you while this is happening, I feel your pain, and I know you're gonna be like, man, if I'm caring for my loved one, man, this gives me an escape from your manager or from my manager. I get you. It can. You know, it definitely can give you that. So, um, but be accountable. Take off a few days a week, like two maybe, and then like be responsible with the FMLA. Don't believe everything is at face value. Do your due diligence, do your research and things. You can get fired from FMLA because you may feel like everything you were told is true. But the person who was helping you get approved for it and that you're in constant contact with, like a representative that you work with in HR, they could be lying to you. And so, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you know about FMLA and you know, not only talk to one person about it, but talk to multiple people. And if you can in human resources, talk to a manager. that specializes in that so that they can help you. Because the person who may help you get approved and may listen to, the sad things you talk about with your loved one and things, they may not necessarily be there for your benefit. More likely than not, they're just there to, they're there to get you approved and talk to you and stuff, but they can lie to you. Okay? They can lie and not tell you the whole truth. All right? So, guys, thank you for watching. I have to get this egg and mask off my hair, so I want to thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you. If you have any more questions or concerns about FMLA, feel free to comment below or ask questions. You can also go to Google, type in any questions you have, and some results can come up. But I'm happy to try to answer your questions as much as I can. Thank you.